2026 is America's semi-quincentennial. 250 years ago this summer, the country was born when the Second Continental Congress adopted the Declaration of Independence. We saw that document on display at the National Archives in Washington, D.C. earlier this year. But in this video, we are touring the home of the primary author of that document as we visit Thomas Jefferson's Monticello in Charlottesville, Virginia. We arrived at the Visitor Center, which features museum exhibits, a cafe, and a gift shop, as well as a theater showing a short film about Thomas Jefferson every 20 minutes. Once you are done there and have purchased your timed tour tickets, you can take the shuttle up the mountain to the grounds of Monticello. Jefferson named his plantation Monticello because it is an Italian word meaning little mountain. We start by taking the highlights tour of Thomas Jefferson's house. You can't record video inside the house, but we do have some photos to show you. This tour currently costs $42 per adult and $13 for kids, and it only features rooms on the first floor. It lasts about 45 minutes. There is a behind-the-scenes tour that costs $105 per person that lasts 2 hours and takes you on a tour of the private quarters on the second and third floors that you will not see on the highlights tour. We didn't do the behind-the-scenes tour. The highlights tour that we did shows you the entrance hall, the parlor, the dining room, and Jefferson's library, which was my favorite part. Jefferson was an avid book collector, though he ended up selling most of his collection to Congress late in life to replenish the Library of Congress after the British burned it down in the War of 1812. The architecture of this house was designed by Jefferson himself, though it was primarily built by enslaved workers who lived at Monticello. Jefferson continued tinkering with the house, renovating it to add its iconic dome and double its size. The home remained a work in progress most of the time that Jefferson lived there. Some of the innovations you can see in this house are the first alcove beds built in America, as well as some of the first skylights in America, and Jefferson's great clock, which he built in his entrance hall, though it doesn't all fit in his entrance hall. Outside of the main house, there are a number of exhibits in a passageway that goes under the house that features information about the wine cellar, beer cellar, and kitchen. The exhibits share details about the lives of the enslaved people who ran the household. There is a 2.5-hour separate ticket tour for $42 per person called From Slavery to Freedom that specifically focuses on the enslaved community at Monticello and the legacy of slavery. We didn't take that tour, but they do have a 45-minute Slavery at Monticello tour that we did go on that's included with any tour ticket you purchase. We'll tell you about that in a bit. It is interesting to note also that Monticello had indoor toilets at a time when that was virtually unheard of in the young country. Our tour guide also pointed out that you can see the University of Virginia down in the valley through the trees at Monticello. UVA is the school founded by Thomas Jefferson after he retired from politics. He designed the buildings and helped form the curriculum. It was one of the accomplishments he was most proud of.
When you buy tickets to any tour at Monticello, there are 3 included experiences at no additional cost, and we experienced them all. First, we took the 45-minute Slavery at Monticello tour. It was offered hourly on the day we visited. It starts at this recreation of an enslaved family's home along Mulberry Row, the 1,000-foot main street of the plantation that once included 20 buildings. Some of those were enslaved family dwellings, but there was also a nailery, a blacksmith shop, a textile shop, and more. This road, lined with mulberry trees, was the industrial center of the plantation. Any buildings you see here today are recreations, though you can see the foundations of some of the old buildings in the ground. This tour gave a lot of interesting information about what life was like for African Americans who were enslaved here. And it's one of the ways Monticello tries to communicate the inconsistency of a founding father who talked a lot about the importance of freedom, but did nothing to provide freedom to people treated as property at his own home. Of course, there was one enslaved family treated better than the rest during Jefferson's life, and that is the Hemings family. It's pretty widely known that historians believe an enslaved woman named Sally Hemings was impregnated at least 6 times by her owner, Thomas Jefferson. This took place after Jefferson's wife Martha died. What we didn't realize until visiting Monticello is that Sally Hemings, the Jefferson slave, was actually Martha Jefferson's half-sister. Martha's father owned a slave named Betty Hemings, and he impregnated her, and about 9 months later, her daughter Sally was born. On her deathbed, Martha Jefferson made her husband Thomas promise never to remarry so her kids wouldn't have an evil stepmother. So Thomas consoled himself with Sally, who was both his slave and his half-sister-in-law. It was a terrible situation, as Sally was unlikely to feel she had much of a choice in the matter. But it did give her leverage to negotiate for her kids' freedom. Sally bore Thomas 6 kids. 2 died in infancy. The others were all given their freedom at the age of 21, a situation that Sally Hemings got Thomas Jefferson to agree to. 2 of the 4 moved north and lived as part of white society, since after a couple of successive generations of white parentage, they were able to pass as white. Sally herself was never officially given her freedom, but when Thomas Jefferson passed, she was allowed to go live her life in Charlottesville, unofficially free, until her death about a decade later. A recent addition to Monticello is a monument to those enslaved at the plantation. It includes all known names of the slaves here, along with space to add more names as they are discovered through research. Another free experience for all who purchase tour tickets is to enjoy the garden tour. We visited in early summer, which means we just missed the tulips blooming and the fruit on the trees that makes the gardens even more beautiful in April and May. But the grounds are still beautiful and still look much like they did during the life of Thomas Jefferson. This is because, in addition to architecture and reading, one of Jefferson's other hobbies was gardening. He compiled a garden book listing what plants were featured in his garden, with notes on how they were arranged and how they grew. Jefferson's notes from that book were used to recreate his gardens in modern-day Monticello. We toured the flower gardens, the vegetable gardens, and the grounds to hear all about Jefferson's work in his gardens. His garden was a science lab where he tested hundreds of rare plant varieties. He exchanged gardening knowledge and seeds with scientists and politicians alike. This 45-minute tour was interesting and gave us a good look at the grounds around the main house.
The other experience for ticket holders is getting to hear Thomas Jefferson himself speak. Of course, this is a historical interpreter portraying Thomas Jefferson. There's a question and answer period after his short speech, followed by a photo op for anyone who wants their picture taken with the founding father. Our tour closed with a visit to the Monticello Cemetery. This is where Thomas Jefferson is buried. He died on the 50th anniversary of the signing of the Declaration of Independence, July 4th, 1826. His headstone is an obelisk that he designed. He also wrote the epitaph that he wanted carved on it, which says, "Here was buried Thomas Jefferson, author of the Declaration of American Independence, of the Statute of Virginia for Religious Freedom, and father of the University of Virginia." It is commonly noted that he did not include the fact that he was the third president of the United States on his tombstone, as he generally did not enjoy that experience. He did accomplish some notable things as president, including buying the Louisiana Purchase from France, which doubled the size of the country at the time, as well as commissioning Lewis and Clark to explore and map the new territory, and lowering the national debt. But he hated the political attacks, loss of privacy, and stress that came with the job, so he was happy when he was finally able to leave D.C. and return to Monticello. Martha is buried in the cemetery near Thomas along with many of their relatives. The location of Sally Hemings' grave is unknown. There is, however, a burial ground for enslaved people near the visitor center. We have no pictures of that as we were not aware of its existence at the time of our visit. Like most historical figures, Thomas Jefferson is remembered for a mixture of good and bad things. But the reason he is still remembered today is because of his remarkable defense of freedom that led to the birth of a country that has been striving to live up to that idea of freedom ever since. Click the links at the end of this video for more revolutionary travels. And be sure to subscribe and click the notification bell so we can see you the next time we're traveling through history.